Wi-Fi here. It's harder for them to hack my cell signal. Give me a second here. I want to get my spectacles. I've taken my specs off somewhere while I was looking at my iPad. Vision restored. Interesting. They were actually on the ground. I'd fallen to the ground, trying to get me to step on them. But because of the way God did this, He was able to orchestrate it, I would know that they did that and I wouldn't step on them. Even though I have a spare pair now. So a lot was missed. And I don't think I said this. So there was this guy that came in yesterday. And if I did say it, it's worth saying it again. Not about me, but about him. And about how God communicated with me. So this guy came in, and he's taking things out of his vehicle. And he's got either MS or cerebral palsy. And of course, the government's trying to fear me of him. You know, that's you. You do the same thing with people in wheelchairs. The government being synonymous with the beast and Satan today. Even if you're in a church-going person within that society, and you're a real church-going person, that's still who the government is. And I've told you that's who they were when I left, and that's what God had told me, that the government was evil. That was the deal breaker for my staying in government, was that the government was evil, and God said they were. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and harm the government or harm anyone else. I'm simply telling you what God spoke to me about. So I see this guy, and he's not walking well, and I had these reachers that I bought, and I bought two this time, because I bought one before, and the government cursed it, and I stepped on it, and it broke. So I bought two more. And I said, I bet you need one of these reachers. So as I was walking to my door, I had that thought that I'm going to get him the reacher. And I got near my phone, and I have these Bluetooth headphones, and it said, phone 1 connected. And if you know anything about the Bible, God is one. Deuteronomy. Again, these are the way God can communicate with you, but Satan is the god of this world, and does get in the middle of that to confuse your vision, especially if it's, you know, the deep state, the platform, cursing you as a citizen. You don't have a lot of sway against that. Everybody has their intrinsic power level on the planet, and then when you're in the government power multiplies by your power, and there's an end sum and summation of that power quotient. So then it's very difficult to stay up if they're taking you down. So I went in my room and I grabbed it, and I said to him, I said, can you use one of these? He said, sure. And once I put it in his car, and I'm thinking, you sure you don't need it in your apartment? I know he's going to need it someday in his apartment. So maybe I'll just buy him a second one. And give it to him and say, here, you can have one in your car and one in your apartment. So again, if I say anything about government or anything else, it's not to incite you to become angry and harm somebody, although they might incite you over it and want you to harm somebody over it, because once you have that knowledge, you're now considered dangerous by the government. I know in the other videos, the image is sideways, 90 degrees out. I'll take care of that shortly. I have a app that will allow me to rotate that around. So I did speak, I think didn't get through on exceptional ER. So I didn't know, I did speak before, said I didn't know that they were taking Medicare at the freestanding ERs that had been approved. And it should be approved because people that are elderly and disabled need these freestanding ERs because they're closer to their home. They don't have to make that trek to the emergency room. And it's much busier, and you know, they gotta go through a lot more there than they generally do at those places, especially once you establish an account. I don't think that should ever go back. But I received a call, quality control, from Exceptional ER. And I told you, I said, I wish I'd have known that they were taking Medicare back in May, because I had a need to go to an Exceptional ER that was right across the street where I lived, and I had to go all the way downtown. And I tell you the truth, I probably would have went a couple more times because you were closer. She said, you know what? I'm the person that oversees Tyler, Texas, and Amarillo Exceptional ERs. And I'll tell you this. Here at Exceptional ER, we don't double bill you if you have Medicare. We don't bill you. We don't ask for money. We take whatever your insurance company gives us. I said, they said that at Hospitality Health ER, but what I understood at the second time they might bill me. Now that might not have been real either, but it might be. They said the first time's on them, but after that they might bill me. Now the woman that said it may not have been true. I don't know. Hospitality Health did heal my H. pylori. And that probably infuriated the government even more, because I was no longer 200 pounds. I was like 165. Again, getting well doesn't always do us well. So again, Exceptional ER is amazing that they would not double bill somebody, that they would have taken that insurance, and I wish I would have known that, because this may have played out differently. But still, I need to heal this. Hopefully I do. I feel a little better at times, sick at times. I know it can take 3 to 6 months to come out of this. I have some people that are really interested in working with me, and I think, and I don't know them, because sometimes people are just trying to sell you a bill of goods, but I have a pain management person that I think is going to take care of it. So I'm hoping that I do heal, and that I can live a semi-normal life, because my life hasn't been normal in decades, if ever. But we have to remember to heal people, and we remember to heal that guy with the muscular dystrophy. He could, whatever his illness is, it could be healed in a moment. Don't not believe. DNA and genetics, wow. The future for that is amazing. I tell my brother we got to talk my nephew into going into something in genetics, and I'll give him all my ideas, and then he can, like a research scientist, and then he can do them. But the funny thing is, any idea I get finds its way somewhere in the world, and then somebody engages in that project. Any thought I've ever had on genetics seems to have found its way somewhere to a certain degree, as well as virology. Because I told God, I said, God, I don't have to get anything for any of it. I mean, I don't even have to be known as the originator of the thought. And God just said, that's why I think through you. It goes everywhere. So again, I see my information out there, but I see it in twisted form at times. You know, a Satanist, why is he a Satanist? Or why is she a Satanist? Whatever. You know, I don't know if you heard me speak on this, but apparently the Republican Party had somebody, Shanghai, one of their sheriff nominations to run against a Democrat, and that person's not going to run against the Democrat. They just wanted to show that a atheist, anarchist, atheistic, I guess not atheistic, Satanist, anarchist, transsexual could be, that says F the police, could be elected or nominated to run for the Republican sheriff. So the system doesn't work, and I know that. We all should know that. Just because you're in the system doing well doesn't mean that you should bless the system as not being issue-ridden. It's not an us and them thing here. Although I can be us and them-ish because why? I'm in a human body. Jesus was us and them-ish, and then at times he said we shouldn't be that way. In reality, Jesus would be considered schizophrenic today. He'd be considered a liberal, and they'd boot him out of everywhere he ever tried to get to. So that's why Jesus came back. And I just got my answer. I go, why? You know, I didn't say why. I just, you know, I knew Satan was involved. I was kind of like, Jesus and I were split up by centuries. If him and I could have came to earth together, boy, this would have been great. I was in spiritual form with Jesus. I was there, or I will be there. I might die from this body and go into a spiritual form where I am present there trying to troubleshoot and heal Jesus in the situation around him in life. And Jesus just said, praise God in all that you do there. So he's standing here right by me, right now, listening to me. There's a forever to do all of this. But, you know, I think I could witness to the Satanists and have them understand. And maybe that's why I'm such a danger to Satan. I don't expect the Satanists to change too much. The Satanists will change as much as God will change them. Now, if God changes somebody beyond that point, that I, you know, figure they might change this far, and then it's human mind. Then, you know, praise God. That's the sadness, because that person is presenting a message God needs presented. The system's messed up. Been messed up. But two wrongs don't make a right. Even if I've been caught in the two wrongs don't make a right scenario. I've been known to do the wrong thing, say the wrong thing. That's why I'm a sinner saved by grace. You see, because I can't save myself. I'm the chief of sinners. I love it that Paul said that. You know, when I started waking up, I was angry at Paul, kind of. I said, you know, I don't know if I, you know, angry, but angry. You know, Paulinians, you're all Paulinians. Paul said some things, but Jesus said some other things, and I'm going to go back to Jesus. And then when we got to look at the greater works of Paul, it became understandable. So what happened is the Paulinians within the church were not really expressing Paul. They were Shanghaiing Paul. And of course, we don't have all of Paul's works and all of Paul's words. See, go back to my back. For my back to have been released, it'll go crickety-crick. My shoulders will go crickety-crick for a while until it all settles in. So I know it's not released, but now my right back is starting to release. I can hear my back going crickety-crick a little bit. So there's a lot to be done here. Hopefully I heal. I have do have disc degeneration. I wish 8 years ago when I was in Naples somebody would have told me a little bit more than they did, but the problem is they are all hitting the head that I might sue the doctor. When I'm not going to sue anybody unless God tells me to, and that means you intentionally tried to harm me. And then, of course, I won't sue you if somebody like the government, you can't sue them for that. That's why the CIA operations are engaged in. So I was angry at the Paulinians, and turns out that, and angry at Paul, it turns out that it was something larger. People say, well, he just said he was, no, he said he was the chief of sinners, because he knows reality. And you can go to a bunch of religions out there, and there are historical people that say things such as that. There's a sect of the Hindu, the Hare Krishnas, and they believe in monotheism. It's kind of a weird mix, but they love God. The majority of those people love God, and a certain percentage love their neighbor. But they'll tell you that they're the most fallen. And when I brought that up about their leader that had passed in the mid-70s, they said, he just said that, he didn't mean it. You see, sin is a funny thing. We see it here, we don't see it there. We see it our way, we see it their way. But we never tend to see it God's way, because why? Because we are not God, and God's thoughts are higher than ours. God tries to explain his thoughts. See, I can't think like God, but I can look in the Bible and say, this is how God thinks. Because God has told us this is how he thinks. And at times God says, at times I can get things through to you, and you understand and think like me. Well, what is that? That's a touch of God. So I'm here in Amarillo. It's a beautiful day. I'm not totally healed. I have some peace because I'm on ibuprofen and muscle relaxers. I wish they'd have put the steroid in my body, because I think, in my opinion, it's kind of fibromyalgia-ish. Where there's some sort of trigger that's not muscular, that puts it all into that hyper-tightened mode. And there's other things going on in my body, pinging neurology and twitching and all these other things. So what I have to do is I get the steroid, a larger dose that the trigger point would give me, and then it kind of puts it into remission. Now, I don't know, because it's been such a long time since I've had this, a couple months. I mean, it's a crying shame that you can't get the treatment that you need. And if the government hadn't minded it, I'd have got further in treatment, and things would have been better. Now, I sound pretty good, right? If I stop speaking and I go back in my apartment or my room there, the government will attack me and succeed, and I'll be depressed. But it has nothing to do with the physical or me. I see the demon, devils. See, they just did it again. Did that right again. Devils, demons, antichrists, witches, and sorcerers that are in the government and in the private sector, because there's private sector people doing the same thing with the same type of CIA toolkit application software. They're devils, man. They're devils. Wake up. I told you, I was working in the Marshal Service, and I used to call this guy a devil. I never knew it was real. I just thought it was a figure of speech. He's one of the ones that tortured me and continued to torture me after I left the Marshal Service, I'm sure. And he's affiliated with the CIA at this point, officially, probably back then unofficially. So, this health issue is related to my Christianity. They hate me. If they'd have let me live even one half of my life, I would not have these health issues. I mean, one half of my life in the last 10 years. It takes a lot of psychological torture to be pushed away from healthcare. But what do we know about the psychological programs of the 40s and 50s when they did put that information out publicly because somebody in the 70s said, hey, we're going to disclose this information, or at least some of it? We know that they have developed psychology to cause people to put themselves at risk. And I mean, when you're going to a doctor or going to chiropractor or going to yoga or going to massage therapy, it doesn't, when they're done with you, it doesn't go into your mind any longer that you're putting yourself at a health risk. It's because you don't want to enter into that torture any longer. This is our government, man. This is why we're in the state of affairs that we're in. Again, I don't condone the violence, but you know what? Every Republican that hates a Democrat to the point of wanting them to act out owns it too. Owns all that. They want it. They will it. They make it happen. Spiritually and sometimes physically. There is a problem with law enforcement. There is a problem with the communities that law enforcement serves. And until we get to that point of mutual agreement, then we're not going to get anywhere. But you can't get to that point of mutual agreement until you stop cursing me and until I heal. Now, if I don't heal, then you'll probably never get there, unless God decides otherwise. I mean, you can say all you like that the presidential election's a big deal, and it is, but there's enough change in this world going anti-police that you need some up. I mean, local governments, state governments exist. And if you go to Brett Bart, you go to Fox News, it all looks pat and good. And if they go to MSNBC or CNN, it all looks pat and good, but it's not. We're at points in the Bible that we know exist. Now, again, my friend believes that Jesus is going to come in the sky and there's going to be a stoppage of everything and we'll be in heaven. I don't see that necessarily, unless the earth were to end. Some cataclysmic event would cause earth to end in an instant. So I think that day is probably afar off unless something cataclysmic happens. Oh, my bat's releasing. I put a lot of magnesium oil on it. Well, this is something that I had last time and nobody explained it to me. I was told that nobody knew what happened and, you know, it's probably going to get better. But this time it's pretty bad. It didn't just go away. I mean, it's the life I live. I mean, I was let down by doctors, let down by government. All across the board, man. If they could do worse to me, they would. You know, God's fighting for me, so they can only do so much. Amarillo is definitely different. I didn't feel that in Espanola when I got to Espanola. So it's not to say, oh, you're just this, that, and the other thing. I didn't feel this in Tyler either. So what they're doing is they're routing me. Because what I'm doing is I'm looking for the next community I want to live in. And they're wheeling it up so I end up in the wrong community. I think there was so much stake globally at this point that I was able to get to an okay community. Now, as far as living here, I don't know. I mean, the allergens are pretty rough, but they are everywhere, I guess. And I'm getting older, so I might need to, kind of move back towards family. Not that I have much family. My brother's been pretty nice throughout this whole thing and has put up with me. Quite frankly, I could probably stay with him and pay him a rent for at least a period of time. And I was blocked from that previously. That's why I never got there. It's really weird. Like, a lot more people are wearing masks here today. Now, we had a lot of people check in from the road last night. I mean, like, even outside, walking down the sidewalk. Which could be a sign, but not sure. So they blocked me from just about everything. Blocked me from women, blocked me from health, blocked me from anything and everything that would be well for me. They did so using advanced psychological, spiritual, and physical techniques designed by Satan, effectuated by intelligence and law enforcement, as well as the private sector, criminal enterprises. All in cahoots. There are foreign governments in cahoots with our government killing U.S. citizens because the employees decided they wanted to do it. Has nothing to do with what they're supposed to be doing or what's right or wrong. I couldn't get anywhere. When I was in Tyler, Texas, you crashed my mind. It wasn't COVID, it was you. You eyed me, I saw you. So when I went to pick up a box from the office in the Studio 6 I was staying in Tyler, Texas, God had me actually walk past the office and turn and look to my left in the Bank of America parking lot. And I saw a police car sitting there. I don't know how long the police car was sitting there, but that police car was there for the moment that I would pick up my box. And then that police car was to come into the Studio 6 compound area and drive past me. And actually, when he came up behind me, it was like he tapped me on the back. I turned around and just looked at him and waved. Oh, there's a ton of exculpatory information that they destroy. But can you imagine that? To effectuate their psychological warfare, they're going to take a police officer away from Tyler Patrol. Oh, they're saving the world from more. And have them effectuate psychological torture. Based upon the work that I'd done for law enforcement, in government and outside of government, they should have introduced themselves to me when I came into their city. I said I got no idea where I'm going to be, but I can go now and connect the dots from each one of these episodes that I had and say the government triggered it. I wonder how many other people they did it to. Probably hundreds of thousands. I mean, it's a sad day. I'm not telling you to revolt. They'll tell you I'm telling you to revolt, and I might revolt because they get me to yell at them. But that's psychological operation. Why don't you stop their psychological operation, their psychological warfare against the American public? Select individuals that they tell you are dangerous while they try to make them dangerous. Why don't you stop them? You act as though you're the type of person that would, but I think you're afraid of them. You're not brave people. This is not a brave country. It's become a self-server, a selfish server. Remember, I no longer support either party. So don't tell me that I'm turning Democrat. Because that's what they do. When the Republicans in, they say he's a Democrat. When the Democrats in, they say he's a Republican. But what does that mean? That means you have a right to kill the person? Cancel culture was created, the term, to cover over the fact that the CIA had developed a murder culture, a psychological murder culture. They're dumbing it down. CIA is neither Republican nor Democrat. The deep state is neither Republican or Democrat. It's both and none. It's what the Soviet Union put into our country and into our government. People I worked with were communists. Putin's not a liberal. He's not a socialist. Putin's not a socialist and Putin's not a liberal. He's a communist. And was a communist. But wasn't a socialist or a liberal. Our government's run by communists that want you to believe that the people that carry the signs and all that are communists. What they're going to do is make you go towards communism. Conservative communism. You see? The socialist liberal is the one that makes you move towards conservative communism. So all they're doing is trying to bring about communism. So then when you look at the choices in the voter booth, you either vote for a socialist, not a socialist, a liberal, well, I guess socialist because they're not liberal, a socialist communist or a conservative communist. There's no liberal left in the world that runs here that gets anywhere. Liberals mean libertarian. It's done. I mean, the nation has pretty much run its course. It's over. You live in a communist world and will so the rest of probably the existence of this nation. All because the government employee is protecting you from yourself or from your neighbor who one day was yourself. Well, one day long ago. You see, like Logan's Run. At a certain point, you're a runner. You didn't just kill yourself for them. Remember Logan's Run, where at a certain age, you would go into this arena and you would be pretty much laser rayed, annihilated. You know, you just, I guess, would blow up and disappear. You no longer exist. To combat hunger and all that, supposedly. Well, when the government ordered my suicide, I refused. They're still trying to get it. The Bible damns a government such as that. The Bible damns a nation such as that. The Bible damns a planet such as that. Does that mean I'm un-American? Well, if you believe so, then you're a communist. I don't worship anything but God. I fly a blue line flag on my car because I believe in the reality of law enforcement. I believe in what some law enforcement officers are doing. But I don't worship it. I don't even worship a cross. Even though I'm carrying one right now. I have a stick with my cell phone on it. It looks like a cross. The government of the United States is wholly evil today. It's just what it's effectuating. You understand how that works? Inside the government are good people. They're doing good things. But the government itself is evil. It's following to Satan. Not telling you to act out against the government, not telling you to harm your neighbor or do anything negative. I'm just telling you that it is. Now, am I saying protest? I'm not telling you anything. I'm just telling you what it is. I'm not telling you to react to it in any way other than nonviolent manners. Because what they're trying to do is increase the ability to murder your neighbor without you caring. So they create this world that says, if you're white, you get to be murdered. It doesn't matter, because the people that are manipulating it, are further outside anything decent than you can imagine. So they don't care who, if anybody, really, I'm going to do something here, I meant to do it and didn't do it. They really could care who is actually pulling the strings and doing what. They don't care. So they don't care if it's liberal or conservative. They just know they're going to create a nation that accepts them murdering U.S. citizens. That's all they know. I'm trying to figure out what's going on inside my apartment as far as demon-wise. I just walked in. I mean, my neighbor doesn't know what he was feeling. Get out of here, and go for a ride, because I got to get out of my apartment. Well, I feel it too, but I hear it, and it's trying to possess me. I'm not sure where, when, why, or how. But again, he's somebody that I've been helping. So at that point, the question becomes, is it just a blanket curse from the government? Whatever's being visited on me is now being visited on him. Kind of in the same network. Well, you could have let me live my life. You could have let the doctors treat me the way they need to treat me. But you chose another way. Like I said, I hope I heal of this. We'll see where I get to after these steroid shots, because that may be the kicker. I get the steroid shots, it allows the massage and the doctors, the chiropractor doctors, to manipulate me to get it all back into where it needs to be. Can refocus on what I was focused on 8 years ago, and hopefully not need surgery in the future. Well, you all know more about my disability than I did. And you all decided to cause it to occur again, because you could cause it to occur again. I'm not crazy. You try to make me crazy. You are evil. Every last one of you. You have committed the sin unto death. And the Bible speaks of that. Now, can you be forgiven of that? Of course. Jesus said, greater work shall you do. So as we move forward, maybe forgiveness needs to be expanded. Maybe it doesn't. It's all up to God in the end to begin with. So no matter what we say and what we do, it's what God chooses to empower and work through. And I explained before, you can have a world where a church feeds 1,000 people that were needy, but made 15,000 people needy with their will. How y'all doing? So, it is what it is. We do what we do for whatever reason that we do it. Nobody had a right to do to me what they did in my life. I'll tell you that. And the government was part of it. Whether they just allowed it, well, I know they're part of it and caused it, but also may have allowed it. Time will tell how well I heal. I'm telling you right now, you committed the sin unto death, all of it. And I'll tell you right now, it does matter whether I heal. At a very high level on this planet. That's why God chose me. Because if you do it to another person, it may not matter as much. Because they haven't spent their time delivering the message that I've spent my time delivering. And when you get to some of the message, and of course there's other gifts, so if there's other gifts, there's also other messages. But if you get to the other messages, they sometimes take on a form of kind of one-upism and clickism. And that was not Jesus. Like I said before, I think this might have got cut off. Jesus is not and was not a conservative. He didn't back jail or prison. He would be considered a liberal today. Not to say that the liberals are liberal. The liberals are socialists. And yes, Jesus believed in a certain level of socialism, but it required a little more input from the people. But I'm sure he would agree that governments have some responsibility. So again, when we allow politics to enter into Bible realization, then we begin to lose reality. Now, some people like me, I didn't have awareness when I was younger. And that's why they were able to get a jump on me and take out my life. So it is what it is. Somebody just got me here earlier. Just checking something out here in my room. What was happening? It was fine. You know, I know what happened. I got a bicycle and I got angry at it. So curse me not to be able to ride a bicycle. That alone would cause this. So again, you know, you could say, well, I didn't directly curse this or I didn't directly curse that. It's just willing something or cursing something, being angry at something could cause it all day long. You say, what about you? Well, I'm reacting all of you. You're not reacting. You're causing all of you. And I think I've handled myself quite well considering what the other people you did this to did. Including, I think some of the mass shooters were created by the same program I speak about them using this morning. I mean, it's rotten dirty. It's rotten dirty to do such a thing. And then come along and say you're here to save the world. I mean, my body's shot, man. I can't even tell you how I got in this condition, other than Satan. And those people that stopped me are Satan. Satan can't do it spiritually, so Satan does it physically. Through the government people. This is the world we live in. This is the world you allow. This is the world you wink away because you happen to have a nice car. I mean, just because you go to church, it doesn't cover it. And you all know that, but there is a sin unto death. And Jesus says there are sins unto death. You know, Jesus sent me a message, a very strong message, that he doesn't judge me for any of the things that I may have sinned in. And I know it seems kind of general, Like, oh, well, doesn't the Bible tell us that? Well, this was a specific message with a lot of emotion and a lot of additional inference and meaning. And no, I haven't committed a crime. That's where the government goes with the thought. Well, he's a criminal. He's admitted to it because he said Jesus forgave him for it. I mean, this is who they are. And what does that tell you? They're Satan incarnate. Remember, there's a difference between being a Satanist and being Satan incarnate. So when I think about the transsexual that is a Satanist, and I know that in the government are Satan incarnates, what does that tell me? Cooking a little oatmeal here. What does that tell me? What does that tell me? Who's in the head of that Satanist? But the people I'm speaking about. They would condemn the Satanists, but they're Satan incarnate. And if you think about it, that person is very useful. You know, they would call that person a fag, a homo. And they would use it in their little conservative cliques if they happen to be conservative. And I'm saying, why am I saying this? Am I telling you not to be conservative? No. Telling you not to be Satan incarnate. So in the mind of the Satanist are these government people that I'm speaking about. And they're causing. And he's reacting. Or she's reacting. Which means most likely they made the transsexual. I can see signatures. The government creates transsexuals just to use that in the battle of ideas, or anti-ideas, should I say. So again, if they can create a transsexual world that threatens you, then you're more likely to allow psychological murder. That they, with ill intention, tried to cover over as cancel culture. They've done it before. They always come up with an excuse as to what it is. That it's not them, it's just this. Or it's not what Moore says, it's only that. You know, I could sit here if I had less than half a mind and tell you that I have sinned and that's why this is brought upon me. I could tell you that if I couldn't get through, or God couldn't get through, or Jesus couldn't get through, because that thought was developing, that maybe I had done something to anger God. No, maybe in some twisted way that I couldn't get to the next place in my life. But no. This happened to me because the government attacked me. And that includes private sector people that the government allowed to attack me, using extreme psychological methods, even if they were never trained officially. It's your government. Believe it. There's people in the government that know it, and I can't believe he's saying it. I mean, you just had to stay away from me. That's all you had to do. Was stay away from me and let me live a peaceful life. I wasn't saying anything because I didn't really know anything.
You're like me, you can't sit still when you're talking on the phone.
Oh no, this is broadcasting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't have many people I speak to on the phone. That's been whittled away. So that there's nothing there. Satan's threatening me right now. Not from that man, but a thought around it. The government should never have been allowed to do any of it. Period. Period. That's simple. Government's still going to do it. The government's still it. No election in the world is going to change it, and God knows that. Beep. See? There's more to the sounds that occur around you. Now, the government could mess that up and make those sounds not coincide again. But there's more to those sounds than you realize. I'm definitely being willed out of my apartment. And, it could be just a blanket thing because the father or the owner and I are friendly. And that wouldn't fit the requirements of the CIA murder program that they worship. Remember, it's a form of worship. It's an absolute form of worship. They worship psychological warfare. It's the beast that you see and you don't see. The spycraft, the psychological warfare in combination with spiritual warfare of a demonic nature is the beast that you see and you don't see. It's there, yet it's not there. The world will be destroyed, will be owned and destroyed by spycraft and witchcraft. Craft. Now I want to call it tradecraft. Still craft. Witchcraft. Witches. Well, praise God in all that you do. I'm going to eat some breakfast, lunch, or something like that. Praise God.